Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for everybody coming out today. Just real excited to open up the season. It's our 102nd year of football, and a lot of exciting things happen at Murray State University right now. A lot of exciting things happen in our athletic department and the football department. Can't say enough about our new president, Dr. Ron Patterson, everything he's doing on campus in this community and in this football program, and Nico Yanko, our athletic director. We've upgraded a lot of things that we needed to upgrade, and I think our players are really appreciating all that, as well as our fans and former players will as well. But, finishing up with fall camp, just to close it out, guys worked really hard. We had some great attitudes, had a lot of competitive battles. Some of those are still going on into game one. Did have a few injuries like most teams. We got some guys banged up. Hopefully they'll be back for the East Illinois game. Might have a few that we will not. But, we're still a young football team. Had a lot of guys that are getting ready to make their first college starts. And last year, this time, we had to play a lot of true freshmen. We were able to bring a lot of those guys back, which was a positive. But really excited about being able to play week 0 and kicking off the college football season. East Illinois is a great program. They've been one of the best programs in FCS football for a long time. And getting to play them at home was very special. Really excited about the Rudolph family field, having new turf out here, and can't say enough about Robbie Rudolph and his family, everything they've done for this university community and investment, to get new turf and stuff for the safety and well-being of our football players is a huge bonus. So really excited about being able to play on that. But East Illinois, they're a program that's been to 16 playoffs, some of the biggest names in football. I know when I was at Jacksonville State playing them in the OVC and used to get the media guides and getting to play there, you see, man, Coach Spoo, all the great teams he had, and whether it was Sean Payton or Mike Shanahan and Brad Childers, Sean Payton, Mike Shanahan, two of the greatest coaches in NFL history, and Brad Childers, a former NFL head coach, and Tony Romo and Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, the list goes on and on of all the great players Eastern Illinois has had over the years. A lot of respect for Coach Wilkerson. He's done a really good job, him and his staff. You turn on the tape last year, they're playing really hard, really sound football, and they were able to retain a lot of key pieces on both sides of the ball that they played last year. But, you throw on the tape against Alabama, and they've got dudes that look like SEC football players at some positions out there playing. And, and I know they've added a lot of talented pieces as well that we've seen. But, I know they're like a lot of FCS teams. They'll have a lot of guys playing sometimes their first game in the East Illinois uniform like us. So we're preparing for a lot of unknowns. You watched them last year. They had a chance to win most every game they played and probably feel like they should have won more. They had a very tough schedule. There wasn't a bad football team on their schedule, and they played Eastern Illinois State, a 2-score game, national runner-up team in our conference. So, and I think they'll even be a lot better this year. So, we've got a lot of work to do to get ready for them. Both their coordinators are back, we've prepared, and this is we're starting our game week mode, which is going to be huge because we've got a lot of stuff to do, whether it's checking a lot of situational football that we've got to go over, and it is, different when you're opening up on a week 0 Thursday night. So we're doing some adjustments there, but really excited about this opening game and know it's going to be a huge, huge challenge.
Coach, I want to go back to fall camp. Just talking about maybe things that stuck out to you that you really maybe didn't think was going to happen in the summer. Just talking about fall camp and what stuck out to you.
Yeah, I was very pleased. I thought, I feel like we're better at all 3 levels on defense. Of course, we got to show that in a game, but last year and in year 1, I felt like most college coaches, you always want to tackle better and cover better. So I think we've improved there. Added some depth to the D-line. I do think fall camp we did, compete well against each other. I thought, as tough as it is sometimes, I know Eastern Illinois is probably going through the same thing. You're ready to play somebody else, and you're tired of hitting the same guys that are your teammates. But I would say the biggest thing fall camp I was impressed with was probably, I felt like we came together really well as a team. I thought our guys competed against each other, but there was a lot respect and felt like, they all came out of it. We came out of it stronger and closer as a group overall.
Do we think we'll see more than one quarterback on Thursday night?
Yes, the quarterback battle is still going on. I feel like we've got 4 guys that we feel like are as good as 4 players we've had since we've been here. They've still got, a lot of growth to do, all of them, but I really love what they all can do. But we will definitely be playing multiple quarterbacks probably this season, and probably in game 1 as well.
Moving towards the running backs, obviously you got the news that Juwan Northington's coming back. Just kind of talk to me about that and what impact that's going to make on the team.
Yeah, Juwan Northington, I hope nothing passes that he gets taken back away from us. But, having Juwan back last year, he had, I think, 230 yards his last game last year against Indiana State. And I don't know, he's probably not in the football shape that he would like to be right now. But, as far as we think, he'll be ready to play in game 1. I don't know how much, with his shape and kind of how some of the other backs are doing, how much he will play. But we feel like, he's definitely a guy that's an added piece that's going to help us this football season and hopefully be able to help us game 1.
So I think for the first time since we've been in the league, we actually have an offensive line group that really is too deep.
Yeah.
I don't know that we've always had that. Could you talk a little bit about, I know the word is we're better on offensive line. I mean, how much better do you think we are?
Offensive line, Coach Ross did a great job losing him to Jacksonville State. He recruited a lot of good young players and developed them last year. And bringing over Ben Thomas from North Alabama as our offensive line coach, he's jumped in and kept the room strong and developed. So, I'm really excited. Daniel Cole's a guy that played some tackle for us last year as a true freshman that did really good. A.J. Shadid started a lot of games at center for us as a true freshman. So he's back. Jake Darby at guard, he's been a little banged up this camp, but having him back at guard's been great. And a lot of guys that were able to play some, Carter Stollard coming over from Virginia Tech, a big size guy, that's going to add some depth for us. Jahir Foucault, a guard, and Terrell Davis. We feel like we've added some depth. Of course, a lot of them have not played together some in games, so that's going to be interesting game 1. But we do feel like we've added some depth there, and we've got to go out and show we can play it on the field. But definitely like the way those guys are progressing. I thought a lot of them had some fall camp. We do have some guys that had to play some multiple stuff, moving around just because of some injuries, and but hopefully we'll be able to feel like we've got at least 5 that we can go out there and play with game 1.
Once we get to conference play, what's it going to take to get over the hump? We're going to have SIU right off the bat here. What's it going to take?
Yeah,
to beat one of these guys?
Yeah, our conference, in my opinion, is one of the best conference in FCS football, and we've got to play some really good football. I think anytime a true test to play in a game 1 opponent is East Illinois, who in my opinion is a top 25 team in FCS football, and we'll have a chance to make the playoffs this year and make a run with the talent they're going to have. Is a huge first game, so that'll probably give us a good parameter how much we've improved, because every team every week in our conference is really good. I think you've got to be ready to play 4 quarters of football, and smart, tough, discipline shows up every team we play. I feel like we're going to be more disciplined, bigger, and hopefully smarter and tougher than we've been the 2 previous seasons. But I do feel like each year we've grown and gotten better. So, it's going to take all that and then some in this first opponent against East Illinois. But it is, everybody, sometimes you like to have a game you feel like week 1 that hey, we can kind of jump in the shallow end before we have to go in the deep end, but that's not the case with the team we're playing week 1. A really good team, so we're going to have to be at our best to have a chance to win.
And then Dylan Rousey. How has this kid done what he's done?
Yeah, Dylan Rousey, a young man we recruited out of Etowah Junior College and didn't have many offers. I believe we might have been his biggest offer out of junior college, but can't say enough about Dylan as a young man. Comes from a great family. His dad's a high school coach, his mother's, just a great family. His parents did a great job raising him, number one. And, I know everybody in his hometown is proud of him, which they should be. And Dylan, from the day he got here, he just goes to work, keeps his head down, and makes plays. And, everything he does, he had a ton of tackles last year, which I told him was awesome. He saved us many games, some big runs and places. But he's just a guy, he studies the game, he anticipates, he's got a lot of natural stuff, he takes coaching, and whatever you ask him to do, tackle, cover, whatever you ask him to do as a football player, he's got to find a way to do his job and make a play. And I'm excited to have him back, and I hope he can stay healthy and have a great year.